Lots of excitement yesterday.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're going to tell us more about the weather and sports, two things that I know you love.
Oh yeah, baseball is my favorite sport to watch. New York Mets are my team, but baseball can be most influenced by weather. One of the sports that has the biggest impact of weather conditions because it's played outside, and just a little bit of rain can delay a game. But there's much greater impacts that we'll go into here with the temperature and the humidity. When it's warm and humid outside, that can give an advantage to the hitter. Warm air is less dense than cold air. The molecules are spaced farther apart with hot air compared to denser cold air. Also, humid air is lighter than dry air. That's surprising, a bit of a misconception for a lot of people. Water vapor molecules, H2O, are lighter than the nitrogen and oxygen molecules they replace. So when it's dry out, most of our atmosphere is comprised of nitrogen and oxygen molecules that have a higher atomic mass compared to the H2O, the invisible water vapor molecules, that has a lower atomic mass unit, and that means that the air is actually lighter when there's more water vapor in the air, when it's more humid outside. So that all adds up to less drag, allowing the ball to travel farther, so you get advantages to the batters. Every 10 degrees above 75 degrees can help a baseball go about 3 feet farther when all other weather variables are equal. Versus with cool weather, there's more drag. That doesn't allow the ball to travel as far, so the advantage is to the pitchers. Cold and dry air is more dense, allowing for a bit more break on certain pitches that pitchers throw. So there's more movement on those breaking balls like curveballs and sliders, more spin because the air is more dense, allows the baseball to have a bit more grip. So again, the advantage can be for the pitcher because the ball can't travel as far. There's more drag added to it. So there's typically fewer home runs earlier in the season compared to the core of the summer. For every 1.8 degree increase in temperature, the number of home runs in a game increases by a small percentage, about 2%. But it can be noticeable once you get into the core of the summer. We also have rain, clouds versus sun, the sky conditions, and wind that can impact baseball. Just a 5-mile-per-hour wind blowing out to center field will carry a ball about 30 feet farther than a ball hit well enough to go about 350 feet. So first we're going to hear from the manager of the Bismarck Larks and then a couple of players on the team how weather impacts baseball and really reinforce what I was just talking about.
You know, I think that when it's cold, it's tough to hit, you know, and I think the pitchers have a little bit of advantage. When it's hot and humid, the ball tends to carry more, fly more, so the advantage, I think, goes back to the hitter a little bit. But as far as positioning the defense, I don't think there's a lot to do with that unless, you know, like here, for example, the wind plays a big part in it. You know, obviously the outfielders have to be aware of the wind and they have to make adjustments accordingly. Nobody likes rain delays, you know, you got to sit around and wait. You know, a lot of times umpires make the final call on them. It's out of the hands of the front office once the game begins. Once they stop it, put the tarp on or whatever. Depends on how the weather improves or gets worse, whether or not we're going to keep playing or not. But, you know, at any level, I mean, from the big leagues on down, rain delays, nobody likes to sit around the clubhouse, especially tough on the pitcher that's thrown. And if you got to get him out of the game, you can't put him back in. You can't get him re-warmed up, you know, so you got to go with another pitcher, which also impacts your pitching staff and your bullpen.
You know, it's really tough more with the warm-up to get going. But once you get in the game, you kind of just deal with, you can't control it and you just go throw. That's about as best you can do. Yeah, so if it's muddy, usually shorten the stride, just because you slide, you know, down the mountain, you don't want to do that. So shorten it a little bit and you got to adjust your sights a little bit when you throw each pitch.
So Lucas actually prefers to pitch when it's warmer outside. Sweat hasn't really impacted him for his grip on the ball. That can impact some pitchers when it's really hot and humid. But for him, when it's very cold, that can take a lot longer to warm up.
I just feel it more like, you know, when you throw it with your hands are colder, just gripping it more than how it actually moves in the air. Yeah, I always go long sleeves till it's like 70, 75, just because you want to be warm no matter what. You know, a jacket or a sweatshirt, depending on how cold it is and what time of year it is.
Well, going to school in Michigan, we play in snow every now and then. So if it's snowing and the weather's really crappy, then we're definitely going to focus more on whatever the pitcher's throwing well that day. So if it's that fastball getting the first pitch strike, we know the hitter's not going to want to swing right away, so just getting the first pitch strike is really important there. Even if it's colder, making sure I'm layered up, making sure I can condense body heat, and then once it gets warmer, just making sure I drink enough fluids and staying hydrated so I don't end up passing out.
So being behind the plate, Will not only has to take into those considerations when catching the balls, selecting the pitches for the pitcher, but also catching any fly balls or hitting, and he'll talk about those impacts here.
Oh yeah, summer ball's the best time to hit because it's always warmer, a little bit more humid, especially from the Midwest, so I definitely like hitting better in the summer. Definitely on a windy day, it makes me focus on hitting more low line drives, making sure I'm cutting through the wind instead of trying to hit the ball in the air. Just kind of get rid of that variable and eliminate any other factors and just letting me play my game. Oh, definitely. Like on a day like today, a little beat up ball is going to be a little bit harder to see, but then if it's a little sunny out, it's going to be easier to see, easier to read the ball flight and all that fun stuff.
So not only do we have temperature, wind, sky condition, and rainfall that can impact the game of baseball, elevation can play a huge role when you get into the big leagues with Coors Field in the Rocky Mountains in Denver, Colorado. They even have a purple line on the upper deck of their field to indicate where the stadium level is, 1 mile above sea level, and with the lighter air that's not as dense there, that can allow fly balls to travel approximately 20 feet farther compared to other ballparks. And this was a Mets pitcher who pitched at Coors Field a little while ago, saying that the breaking balls aren't the same because with the lighter air, that doesn't allow for the balls to get as much break on them, and they were less effective. So big advantage to the hitters at Coors Field at elevation there. But here in Bismarck, Lark season has wrapped up, but the next time you go to the ballpark, think about all those variables that can play into how the game goes about and how these players and managers go throughout the whole game.
The weather affects us as fans too.
Yeah.
I'm going to enjoy a game much more when it's about 75 and
Yep.
sunny than on a cold. Yeah.
Cold day. And I was telling you kind of during the break, I don't think I've seen a baseball game in the snow, but
Right.
I'm amazed how that has an impact on it as well.
Yeah, it can happen in Colorado
Uh-huh.
and Minnesota even
Yeah.
in March or April.
Yeah. Probably not in Louisiana.
No, probably
That
not.
would be okay. Thanks, Jacob.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.